What's up, FA Nation? Thanks for tuning in again to another edition of FA Sports Talk. And as usual, news is breaking left and right. There's so much going on right now. Adam, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Busy day. Was on the NBA playbook, DFS lineups. Guys getting scratched left and right. It is that time of the season. Last week of the regular season, so it's a little hectic, but still some important games going on in the NBA. So following that, following baseball. So busy as usual.
Yeah, lots of news coming out today. Let's see. First of all, MLB issued their suspensions for Ramon Laureano and the Astros first base coach. So Laureano is 6 games. Is that correct? Or is it 5 games?
Yeah, it's 6 games for him. So I thought it potentially could be worse. So as
Yeah.
a Laureano owner, I'm actually okay
Yeah.
with that. I just hope that there is somewhat of an appeal because I did put him in my weekly lineup that lost yesterday and he did play. I also have him in our GDD league, but that's daily, so I can cover that. But I do have him in a weekly lineup, so hoping that maybe he finishes the week or starts it later in the week so I don't lose too many games. But 6 games, again, it's
Yeah.
still a lot in a short season, but it's better than 10 to 15.
Absolutely. Lots of things like that going on. I mean, we thought the Cardinals were going to have more games this week. Their doubleheader on Thursday has now been postponed. I also thought I thought Jacoby Jones, who I was lucky enough to acquire, was going to have 7 or 8 games this week. It turns out he's not because of that cancellation. So in weekly locked lineup leagues, it's been incredibly frustrating. In daily leagues, obviously, you can make some moves. But yeah.
Yeah, no, weekly lineups are absolute headache this year, and we kind of knew going in. I think the issue was some leagues drafted in March or February
Yeah.
under the assumption that they were playing a weekly league. For example, in our GDD league, it was weekly, but we never had the draft in March. So when you have the draft in July after this stoppage, you can change the rules then. I think it's a lot more difficult if you draft, oh, it's going to be a weekly league because some people do have a different strategy drafting in that format. But I think if we all reflect back on it, we kind of wish our commissioners put it to vote and went to a daily league because some people are having difficulties fielding a full lineup and a lot of zeros. It's happened to all of us. If you're in a weekly league, you've taken a zero at some point.
I'm actually in a league where there was a vote whether to go weekly or daily, and they decided to stick with weekly.
Yeah.
Incredibly frustrating. And it's incredibly frustrating to try to claw your way back because we just don't know. Things could happen like exactly what happened this week with Zach Plesac and Mike Clevenger. Look, all I can think is how boring must it be to live in Cleveland that you got to go party in Chicago.
Well, were they in? I don't even remember. I think they were in Chicago.
So they were in Chicago. That's my point.
Right.
Like, they must not get out enough. So they're like, oh, we're in Chicago. We have to go out. But yeah, I guess both Mike Clevenger and Zach Plesac violated protocols. And, it's especially upsetting because they do have some high-risk staff members. As we know, Carlos Carrasco has got to be a high-risk candidate, and he's someone that's in the pitching rotation with them. They're obviously spending time together. And I was actually appreciative that Cleveland made the example and said, no, you're going home in a car alone, you're quarantining, and we're not going to become like the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, and Clevenger apparently was in a team meeting defending Plesac, and then they found out that he was with him, and he took the team flight home. So, yeah, it's a terrible situation. I pulled Clevenger out of my weekly leagues. There is a chance he starts this weekend against Detroit, but there's also a chance that he tests positive or they decide to hold him out longer. Plesac was going to either go to the bullpen or the training site. They didn't need a fifth starter till August 22nd, but now with Clevenger's status up in the air, it changes things. And, their pitching has been great. So, yeah, it's unfortunate with Clevenger. I hope that, he comes back. I'm hoping he gets a 2-start week next week as a fantasy owner and doesn't go this weekend against Detroit because I don't have him in the lineup. But, yeah, Cleveland's been one of the teams that has been taking this seriously. And don't forget Terry Francona, 61. He was away from the team this past week as well. So they do have some high-risk guys there, and it's unfortunate. And the other thing is, too, this probably happens more, and there's players going out that are not getting caught.
That's right. I agree. Now, according to, I think it was Adam Wainwright that did this interview. The rumors that one of the St. Louis Cardinals went to a casino are not true. I guess they watched the tape. So I know there's got to be a lot of people wanting to finger point. We don't know. But in this case with Cleveland, when it's so obvious, I think they made the right decision coming down hard. Another team that apparently has been really, really strict about protocols is the Cubs. And man, are they raking. They look so good this season. I don't think we expected that.
No, I didn't. I didn't for sure because I still have questions about their pitching staff. John Lester, I think he gets smacked around tonight. He's got 100% strand rate. His batting average of balls in play is ridiculously low. His swinging strike percentage is 2.4%. It's only 2 starts, but Cleveland's offense has started to pick it up over the last couple games, 25 runs over the last 4. They've really been slow to come around, but the Cubs are definitely off to a good start, which is important in this short schedule because it gives you a nice little cushion there. Darvish has pitched okay. Expect a little better. He was shaky his first start. Alec Mills has pitched well. Tyler Chatwood had a couple good starts, then got smacked around. The bullpen, they've been quick to move away from Craig Kimbrell, which is the right move. I mean, he can't get anyone out.
You think they've been quick? I think they've been unbelievably slow. They keep giving him chances when the guy can't do anything. They keep sending him out there.
But he hasn't been getting save opportunities.
They shouldn't be letting him pitch at all. He's screwed it up for them so many times.
They put him out there with a 3-run lead recently, I think, to get his confidence up, and obviously it didn't work.
And it didn't work out.
Right, and they pulled it quickly though. But they haven't been giving him in other times because he's a veteran. Teams would just leave him out there. They
left him out there last year and he screwed up. Like, how many more chances does this guy need? How much more confidence does he need? He's Craig freaking Kimbrell. I'm so frustrated with them. I mean, I guess they have enough of a lead. They feel fine about it, but he's not good. It's not good.
Well, yeah. I mean, I want to know part of him. I thought last year it was terrible. I didn't draft him anywhere, so I'm not surprised by this, but. They've gone to Rowan Wick and Jeremy Jeffers in the last couple of save opportunities.
I have Rowan Wick in a couple leagues. I'm pretty happy with that pickup. But yeah, it's been interesting for Chicago, and I'm happy for them because from what I understand, they have been adhering to protocols and playing well. And I actually said we weren't going to talk about baseball today on this stream, and now we're 8 minutes in, and we went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. Let's move over to NFL. The most recent news just coming out a few minutes ago. Looks like the Big Ten is canceling fall football, but is going to try to play XFL style in the spring. Thoughts, opinions?
I'm not surprised by this. I mean, I think we were kind of headed in that direction. So it'll be interesting to see what the other conferences do. And if this is a trend, then we'll see a lot of NFL on Saturday.
That's right. We will. And that's good for NFL. It looks like NFL is moving forward, obviously. News yesterday that Lamar Miller signed a 1-year contract with the Patriots. Is this about Lamar Miller, or do you feel like this is more about Sony Michel?
I think it's more Sony Michel. I think they're a little concerned if he's going to be able to start the year. We know he had some surgery. So he's been banged up coming out of college. He had the knee issue. So I think they're just doing this for depth. We know James White's going to be the pass catching back. They still have Rex Burkhead there. So, and Damian Harris, who they drafted a couple years ago. Miller's 29 years old. He's coming off the ACL and MCL tear as he set out last year. So I think it's just more depth, and it just tells me that they don't feel great about Sony Michel, at least starting the year.
What do you think the Patriots are actually going to do? Is there any Patriot you're going to draft? Because to me, even when they signed Cam Akers, that was before half their team opted out because of COVID. I'm sorry, Cam Akers. Why did I say that? Cam Newton. When they signed Cam Newton, that was before half their team opted out because of COVID, and they just look an absolute mess. Are you taking any bit of them? Do you think they're going to surprise us? What's your opinion on them in general?
Yeah, I just don't doubt the Patriots with Bill Belichick at the helm. We've seen them do this before. He had Matt Castle one year and they won 11 games. So Cam Newton has a lot to prove, and Cam Newton has had success before without a lot of weapons. I mean, if you look at what he did in Carolina, he never had great weapons. I do like N'Keal Harry, so I will draft him in the double-digit rounds. He's a big target, which sets up well for Cam. I'm really not a Julian Edelman guy now because even though he's not expensive, it's just he's 34 years old and he relies on volume, and I don't know if he'll have that same rapport with Cam Newton. But yeah, I mean, I'll still look at Cam Newton, N'Keal Harry, and I was looking at Damian Harris, but now it's kind of crowded there. So they really have to fall to be someone that I consider. But the running game is probably going to be a headache all year long.
Speaking of running games, there was a report in The Athletic that there's a competition in the backfield in Denver. So did we read this wrong about Melvin Gordon being the definite number one back? Is there reason to think that Philip Lindsay might be a serious threat, or that it could be more of a committee than originally thought?
I still think it's going to be mostly Melvin Gordon. They had Philip Lindsay there, and if they were that confident in him, why would you bring Melvin Gordon in? So they paid him money. So I think that it's going to be Gordon, even if it's 65-35. I mean, they're not going to just completely leave Lindsay off the field, but I have to think that it's going to be Gordon most of the time. And Gordon, as he came back last year from sitting out, got better as the season went along. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that's always broken a lot of tackles. He's played behind a pretty below average Chargers offensive line for most of his career. So I think it's going to be mostly Gordon.
Okay. I do think, though, it might be a good idea in the later rounds to go ahead and grab Philip Lindsay, guys. I think he's falling a lot. So it's a possibility. Not a league winner, but you never know. And certainly a handcuff if you take Melvin Gordon. So another report coming out of camp, Sean McVay has been talking about using Cam Akers. There's my Cam Akers in the Wildcat. So what do you think that means? Is this give Akers more value? Do you think this is just coach talk? Supposedly he's one of the best, has one of the best arms of any running back out there. And that's why they wanted to get him. They thought they could use him for trick plays. They've been talking about trick plays. We know Sean McVay likes to be sneaky, if you will. So does this give you any change on how you feel about Cam Akers?
No. I mean, I liked him to begin with anyway, and he's going in the fifth, sometimes falling to the sixth round now because McVay came out a few weeks ago and said that they've got 4 backs. I'm not buying into that. Even if it takes some time for Akers to emerge as the main back, he was really good at Florida State, ran behind a terrible offensive line. So he's used to not being behind a good line because the Rams' offensive line definitely has some question marks, but Malcolm Brown's the veteran. Darrell Henderson. I mean, he was a rookie last year, but he just wasn't impressive at all. So I think Akers is the guy that emerges, but this doesn't really do anything for me at all. I mean, yeah, they might have a trick play or two in there, but they're not going to run it 5 times a game. So, Akers is still the guy that I like because, we're still getting him at a pretty good value. 5th, 6th round is fair for a guy that could emerge as the main back in that backfield.
Yeah, I like Cam Akers a lot. All right. So this week, our head, what is Howard, the head of content at Fantasy Alarm? He sent us out a survey and he said, it's time for you guys to make some bold predictions. And he asked us for some bold predictions. So I thought, I don't think this has been published anywhere, but I thought maybe you and I can talk about a few of ours. I wanted to ask you who you took. I don't know who Adam took, by the way. I'm just asking. And I want to see if we agree on any and why we picked who we picked. So these are slightly bolder predictions. Some of our predictions might be not that bold, but I'm going to start with one. I want to ask you who you think is going to get 30 plus touchdown passes for the first time in 2020.
Yeah, I went with Kyler Murray. He had 20 last year. I think this offense will be better. Adding DeAndre Hopkins certainly helps. Still have Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, Kenyon Drake coming out of the backfield. So, a lot of the guys kind of already did it up top. There's actually quite a few quarterbacks that have done it before. So I think the pickings were kind of slim on this one, unless I'm glaringly missing someone. But yeah, I went with Kyler Murray.
Okay. So I went with, this is a very bold prediction, Ryan Tannehill. I think people are sleeping on Ryan Tannehill. He has an incredible completion rate. In the first 4 years of his career, he actually has the all-time most completions. And I know that it's a run game there, and I know that a lot of his touchdowns will come with his legs, but this is a bold prediction, and I'm going with Ryan Tannehill, who had 22 touchdowns last season for the Titans in only 13 games.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be difficult, especially since the key for that to happen is their defense can't be good and they have to play from behind. He did have the 22 touchdowns in 12 games, but he also had a 7.7% touchdown percentage, which is well above his career norm. And, he was able to
It
do.
is well above his career norm, but he also had dealt with injury and he also played for Adam Gase. So I think if you throw out those couple of years, I mean, in 2000 and what year was it? He had 27 touchdowns.
Right, on 590 pass attempts. Last year he had 286 pass attempts and had 22 touchdowns. Like, that's not going to happen again. Like, he was extremely efficient last year. So to me, the only way this happens is if they play from behind and he's forced to pass, because we saw it even in the playoffs. They don't want to throw the football. They want to rely on Derrick Henry. So they were able to do that last year in the second half because they played from ahead. So the way for this to happen is they're going to have to be playing from behind quite a bit.
Well, this is my bold prediction. I'm sticking with it. I think it's possible. 27 touchdowns in 2014. They just signed him to a new contract. I think they're going to try to switch it up. That's what I'm going with. Kyler Murray's too easy. Come on.
Easy. How's that easy? He had 20 last year.
He has DeAndre Hopkins now.
So what? So that he's got to increase his touchdown passes.
Okay, so he has 20. So he had 20 last year, and Ryan Tannehill had 22 in less games.
Right, and Kyler Murray was a rookie.
All right, so we'll see who does it. Maybe both of them. I think they both could. Bold prediction. Who's your receiver? Who's your receiver that's going to be 10 plus touchdowns?
DJ Chark. The easy answer is Michael Thomas. People don't realize this, but Michael Thomas has never had 10 touchdowns. 9 is his career high, 3 times in 4 years. But I like DJ Chark. I mean, he had 8 last year, and he limped to the finish line. He was hurt the last couple of games. He's the number 1 in that offense. He's had a rapport with Gardner Minshew, and this is a team that is one of the worst in the NFL. So they're going to be playing from behind, passing a lot, and Chark is a stud. He didn't really get an opportunity much in his rookie year. This guy's 6'4", 200 pounds. So DJ Chark for me, I think he gets to 10.
So that's a good one. There was actually a lot of good choices here when I was going through the list, but I decided to double down. I'm going to A.J. Brown because once Tannehill got involved, he had 8 touchdowns on the season. I think he's the one that's going to get them. And if I'm betting on Ryan Tannehill, then I have to also bet on A.J. Brown. He only needs 2 more to make it happen. And I think that's where they're going to go. I think they're going to have to mix it up a little. They can't be exactly like they were last year. So I'm going to A.J. Brown. Which running back do you think is going to be the first time to 10 plus touchdowns? Again, there's a lot of people that you might think have already done this that haven't when you look at the list.
Yeah, I went with Nick Chubb. He's had 8 rushing touchdowns in each of his first 2 years. It's a better offensive line. They improved it substantially, bringing in a coach that wants to run the football. They're going to go with a lot of 2 tight end sets. Yes, Kareem Hunt is there. But Nick Chubb also had a real tough time last year on the goal line. I mean, there were so many times that he was stopped. Mm-hmm. So I think that changes this year. He is able to score. So even with Kareem Hunt cutting into his fantasy value a bit, especially in the passing game, I still think Chubb's going to get 270, 280, potentially 300 carries. He could be the Derrick Henry where he gets a lot of volume and a lot of touchdowns but doesn't do much in the passing game. So it's Nick Chubb for me. I mean, this guy's averaged 5.1 yards per carry in his 2-year career behind, average to below average offensive line last year. Now it's better. So Nick Chubb for me.
Okay. For me, it's Josh Jacobs. First of all, people don't realize he was the highest graded offensive rookie in 2019 by Pro Football Focus, not Kyler Murray. He also had the highest forced missed tackles in the league last year, 29%, which is more than Kamara, who came in at 25%. And in 13 games, he had 7 touchdowns. And I know he comes off the field for third downs, but even so, he still averaged 14.7 PPR points per game. And yeah, that's a point more than Miles Sanders per game. This is a guy that they trust. That's how many points he was able to accrue. And I think that Gruden is a little PO'd that he didn't get the honors. And I think he's going to feed Josh Jacobs the ball. I do think they'll get him a little more involved in the passing game. But even so, I'm not sure it matters. The offense should be improved. Again, bit of a bold prediction, but I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs here.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I could definitely see it happen. I mean, He was really good last year. Missed the 3 games. He averaged 4.8 yards per carry. It's just a little disappointing. They don't involve him in the pass game more. I don't know why. I think he is a good pass catching running back. Caught 20 of his 27 targets last year. But still, he has an opportunity. He got 7 last year in 13 games. So, yeah, that's a pretty good one as well.
I think so. And he was also playing through a separated shoulder last year. So assuming he's back to full health, I don't see any reason this guy can't take the world by storm. I'm a big Josh Jacobs fan, so I wanted to give him some kind of an honor there. All right. We may or may not have the same guy on this one. First time to 80+ receptions.
Yeah, someone I'm very high on. It's Calvin Ridley.
Same as me.
Yeah,
that might be the case.
He's had 64 and 63 receptions. He's yet to have 100 targets in his career, but I think that changes this year. We know Julio Jones is going to command the football most of the time, but we saw Ridley's numbers go up last year when Mohamed Sanu was traded, also when Austin Hooper was gone. So I think Ridley's set up for a really big year, and I'd be stunned. The only way it doesn't happen is if he gets hurt.
Injured.
But he's been healthy so far for most of it. I mean, he did miss the last, I think, 3 games last year. But yeah, Calvin Ridley for me. I mean, he probably would have gone over 80 last year if he didn't get hurt.
I was going to say, I think he played 13 games and he had like 63 receptions, something like that. I mean, the Falcons had 654 total targets last year, and over 64% of them went to wide receivers. That's 421 targets to go around. Jones is going to see double coverage sometimes. Calvin's going to have to be there. No Sanu, like you said, no Hooper. I mean, they do have Hayden Hurst, who I really believe in, but I just think Calvin Ridley is a no-brainer here for this answer. Other people I thought about were Cortland Sutton and Michael Gallup, but I think Ridley's the way to go.
Yeah, I think so too. Gallup's not a bad one. I think most people won't look at him. They're worried about the addition of CeeDee Lamb and also Mari Cooper there, but he was really efficient last year. Sutton, I worry about a little bit. Mm-hmm. You got Jerry Jeudy there, Noah Fant. So, like, how much can Drew Lock really do in this offense? I think it is a question mark. So, Sutton had 72 receptions last year in 16 games. I would take the under 80 on him.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump around a little bit more. Who did you predict to be the leading passer?
I mean, first of all, like, all of these are not supposed to be bold. It says bold, but I mean, you're asked to pick, players. So I'm not going to say that I'm not going to take someone outside the top 20 to be the leading passer. So
I didn't either.
I went chalk Patrick Mahomes.
You went really chalk. All right. I went with our boy Dak Prescott because, hey, it's time. He's got 3 great wide receivers, and that's who I want it to be. So that's who I went with. Homer pick.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible, but they do want to run with Zeke quite a bit. I don't think the Chiefs right now have a running back that they want to hand the ball to 250 to 280 times. They just paid Mahomes a ton of money. We saw what he did 2 years ago. I mean, he had 5,000 passing yards, and last year he was banged up. So it's hard for me not to go with Mahomes. I know it's chalk, but still.
Well, I'm going to follow up with this question then, which might explain to you why I went Dak. Impact injury.
I think I went Leonard Fournette.
I went Pat Mahomes.
Patrick, why is he getting hurt?
Totally getting hurt.
Why?
I just think he is. He did last year. Why wouldn't he? And if you want to talk about impact, that's going to be the biggest impact. If he goes down, that's going to make the biggest impact across the league is my thought.
I mean, I hate predicting injuries. I do too. I didn't like it.
I hated that question. I didn't like that question either. I was like, am I supposed to be rooting for this? Or am I supposed to talk about who, if they got injured, would it be the worst for everybody? And I kind of thought if Pat Mahomes got injured, it would be pretty bad for everybody. As we saw last year, it wasn't good when he wasn't there. When he came back, the team was a whole lot better. That team really is all around Pat Mahomes. So I think it really matters, Pat Mahomes' health. Rookie sleeper, who you got?
Well, I put this here before the news happened, over the
Me too.
last few days. So for me, it was
I know what you're
Antonio
gonna say.
Gibson.
Me too.
Yeah, he's someone I've been taking a lot of drafts. I took him in the Scott Fishbowl as the RB52. That draft was in July. I've been doing a lot of best ball tens. He's a wide receiver there, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but I still have been taking him. Obviously, though, I think now he's not going to be anymore. I think there's a lot of excitement and talk about him, so it might come to a point where I'm priced out. But before I wrote this, he was definitely the guy that was on my radar because he can do a little bit of everything. Even if he's not using the backfield 100% of the time, they can use him at wide receiver as well. So they certainly don't have a ton of weapons on offense, so there's opportunities for him to get the touches. Love Terry McLaurin. Steve Sims, not a bad guy to take late, but he's a playmaker, Gibson, and they need to find a way to get him involved.
That's what I thought too when I did this. I thought, well, this guy can do everything, and he's someone that you may not realize they're bringing out as a Swiss Army knife all the time. And now, of course, all eyes are there with the Darius Geis news. So I agree. I don't know that he's necessarily the sleeper anymore. But when we got this, he really, truly was a sleeper. Who do you predict to be the leading receiver?
I have Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Okay.
Yeah.
So backing up your Pat Mahomes pick.
Yeah, I mean Tyreek's dynamic, man, and he can break a big play at any time. And we saw he was affected last year without Mahomes, but just 2 years ago, 1,479 yards, and he doesn't need the heavy volume to get it done. I mean, he's just this big play receiver. So I went with Tyreek Hill.
It's a good one. I went with Davante Adams, which is probably also more chalk. Obviously, Michael Thomas could do it again. But Davante Adams still really the only receiver for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And as long as
I
he's
love
healthy,
Adams, you know that, and I have him ranked number 2. But surprisingly, he's only broken 1,000 yards once in his career. And I know he missed 4 games last year, or he would have gotten there. He had 997. He had 997 in 2016 as well when he played 16 games. So he's very dependent on volume. I mean, his career high in yards is 1,386. So that's why I didn't pick him. I think it'll be great for fantasy, but as far as leading the NFL in yards, I don't see it. I'd take Julio Jones over him, Tyreek Hill, a lot of guys, I think, because he's very, very dependent on volume, which he'll get, but I don't. And he's only averaged 12.1 yards per reception in his career. He's not a big play guy. He's dependent on volume, which is why I don't see him leading the league in yards.
well, I definitely made this pick based on volume because I just think that that's all he's going to get. And this was totally about volume pick. And again, bold predictions. I was trying to go with not the most obvious, but so Davante Adams, we'll see. What about a sleeper team?
I took the Browns. I think a lot of people are sour on them because of what happened last year, but I think they improved. They upgraded the offensive line. They'll get Odell Beckham healthy. Even though I don't love Hooper for fantasy, bringing him along with Njoku, I think the defense is pretty good as well. So it's kind of hard to find sleeper teams. It feels like people are kind of. I mean, I don't know who you pick, but yeah, I mean the Browns are in a tough division because the Steelers and Ravens are there, the Bengals are improved. But I think the Browns are going to surprise. I mean, the offensive line was the big issue for them last year, and they upgraded it in a big way. So that's why I got the Browns.
I picked the Lions. Getting Matt Stafford back.
That division is terrible. I mean, I'm not
exactly.
I don't think the Vikings are as good. The Bears are mediocre.
Yeah, at best.
It's just I don't trust Matt Patricia, and I don't know, but they could be. That's not a bad one. I mean, they're coming 3-12-1 season without Stafford, so they kind of fit in there.
Well, there's a lot more of these, but let's just do one more to finish up. Let's go with comeback player.
Yeah, I went with Ben Roethlisberger. I think the Steelers are. I mean, this was a team that almost made the playoffs last year with a non-existent offense. I know Roethlisberger had some ridiculous surgery. He talked about it. I was like, man, that doesn't sound good for a 38-year-old. But we saw what he did 2 years ago, and there's a lot of weapons on this offense. So I went with Ben Roethlisberger.
I went with Ben Roethlisberger as well for all the same reasons, so I won't repeat it. Verbal retweet, if you will. Adam, that was awesome. A half hour already flew, but I really wanted to say thank you for having the same hair as me today. It's kind of the
That's
least
why I did
waves
it.
day.
I knew it.
Yeah,
It's like
I
I
thought
can't
so.
do it. I can't have this hair with Fensterman because it'll just make him
Yeah.
insecure about his bald head. So at least we can have some competition, and it hasn't
Exactly.
puffed out too much yet because fresh out the shower. But in 2 hours, it's going to be out to here.
Well, if I were in New York, like I used to be, it would be out to here. In California, it's a little more subdued. So I understand what you're saying. The humidity makes all the difference. You guys know this about styling, right? Like, if you need styling tips, you can tweet me or Adam because
Not me, no. So you can tweet you, not me. I'm not going to help there.
he's only going to tell you who could be the leading passer. Sorry, not going to help you with your hair. I'll help you with your hair if anybody needs help. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Periscope. You're probably watching on Periscope. Go set your lineups if you're in a daily league right now. Make sure you don't set it with Ramon Laureano until we're sure when those suspensions are going to be held. We don't have a note yet, right? When those are going to be, right?
No, I haven't seen anything. We'll see if he appeals. But yeah, we'll at least if you're in a daily league, you can get that news and figure it out. In a weekly league,
Yeah.
you already made the decision. You played him yesterday because they played. And also CJ Cron was placed on the injured list. He got hurt yesterday.
Oh, really? And Bumgarner and Morton are also out, I believe. So
Yes.
be sure you check your lineups, guys, and check the waiver wire, see who's available. Maybe Alex Cobb is still out there, a few other dumpster dives out there that might be able to help you for a week or two until you get your guys back. All right, go set your lineups, and we will catch you next time.